Hey traders, Mike Katz here with today's trader takeaways. And what a day we had. Lots of big macro things going on. And let's get into it. The spies were moving. We have basically the administration talking lots about tariffs, and China is responding, and the markets don't seem to like that. And we'll see what happens here. But the market did not put in a good day on the daily. I think the fact that we took out the low here, closed weak on the day, and after putting in a significant lower high here versus the markets, is basically not a good sign. In the short term, we might get a bounce, we might not, I don't know. But bigger picture, I don't think it looks too good. So we'll see if we can get a nice move. And a lot of it is very news driven right now, but maybe 250s is in the cards. So that's kind of what I was focused on today. And my biggest trades today, well, first one was DRI. DRI was Darden Restaurants, right? So they had earnings, and they didn't trade too well either. They closed pretty weak. And if we can look at this here, bam. All right, so we had pre-market, not too much action. This thing opens and rips to 90. So to me, that's a nice big number, figure. And I was risking basically, I got in here risking versus above 91. I was going to give it some space, got in with a starter, and then it started working pretty quickly. Came back, but started working well. So initial entry on this was good. Made a couple of bucks on this drop, was pretty good. And then kind of scaled my way out of it here. I think it was here as it failed to make lower lows. And then this thing started grinding back up higher and comes back and basically tags VWAP. And if you guys look at this trend line here, let me zoom in a little, you could see that that's basically the morning lows, right? So morning lows, comes back, coincides with VWAP, and puts in a hammer here, a doji, whatever you want to call it. So I put on some size here. Actually, that's not true. It wasn't here. It was right here. So the pattern was tags VWAP, fails, has a big wash and a red candle, but holds here, holds this level, and pops up and makes a couple lower highs here. So double top, lower high. My stop was above 88, and 88, 10 and above, I would have gotten out. So this is a nice entry here where it gave a nice push down, came back. I hadn't done anything, I just stayed with it, and it was a decent sized position, so it actually ended up working pretty well, and covered it into the drop here, took a piece off here, and then the rest, I think it was somewhere here. So this was a really nice trade. And even though they beat earnings, let's see if we can see, they beat earnings by a little bit, by about 6 cents. It wasn't acting well, and that $90 figure I think was important. And then looking at the daily on this one, it was just one that was not acting well recently, and so I took advantage of it on that side. And then what else was I trading? Facebook. This one gave me a little bit of a hard time in the morning, chopped me up early, and let's see what happens here. So there's still a lot of news coming out, and basically every move is very news driven, and it's just a matter of which headline comes out. Stock gets whipsawed around quite a bit. So in the morning it caught a bid, and I was trying to capture this on the long side, and then see which way it wants to go, join the trend, and that worked out pretty well, where I bought the dip, scaled out, traded it on a core, bought a couple of dips, and at this point I was waiting for some sort of a pullback, and then maybe a lower high or a failed breakouts of the sort. And then once it broke below here, I was going to say, all right, lower low, I'm done with the trade. But what ended up happening was that how do I remove this drawing? Yeah, so what ended up happening was it just failed and never looked back, never really gave a chance for a lower high or a lower low. It just kept tanking. And so I ended up giving back most of what I made in the morning in Facebook because my stop was still down here, thinking that this is the real pullback, this is a lift. And again, as long as it was going to stay above here, I figured, it could make another higher low and go higher. But it didn't, so I gave back a lot here. And then around this 167 area, I got a little bit chopped up. Let's look at that here. So I had like a expanding formation, whatever you want to call it, where it's making higher high, lower low, again higher high, lower low, higher high, and it's tough to figure out which way it wants to go from here. But I had a few executions where I was short and I took it off, short and took it off, but eventually I just said, you know what, I think it's weak, and I'd like to see which way it wants to go. And it ends up making this lower high here, and basically I got in here, decent size, stop above here, and then it comes back, and I had another order to add, double up my size here, and basically I think it missed it by 1 or 2 cents, but everybody can kind of see what happened afterwards. I didn't want to chase it. I had already a decent sized position. I didn't want to chase it on the ad, but that would have been a nice double the position here. But it ended up working nice, where I was able to ride this trend down. Where is that? Right here. Ride this trend down, and then there was actually a similar situation here. Exactly. So yeah, so it happened basically twice, similar formations here, so kind of threw me off for a second, but caught this move down, got a little bit hurt on this pop back up, came up more than I thought it would, but then here it basically first started looking like a head and shoulders. Let's put that up right there, looking like a nice head and shoulders. So I was short here. I got stopped out on this move. When it came back down, I put it back on. This time it came in, put in a lower high, and basically I had decent size here again, caught that move, and then for some reason I'm seeing on the tape a buyer, and I try not to read in too much into large cap price stocks, these high beta tech names where the quote is very thin. It's a little bit harder for me to read the buyers and sellers in this, but it seems like there is someone who just keeps on buying. I don't know who it is, why they're buying, I don't really care, but he's making this relative strength recently versus the SPY a little bit stronger. So it didn't really tank with the SPYs today. So I'll be keeping that in the back of my mind, but I was still on the short side with this and was able to catch a really nice move here. Got some more size here at 167. Again, letting it trade versus above these highs and just trading around a core. And at this point, the market was started selling off, and boom, 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 comes in lower low, lower high, and then just let this thing work. Again, you see the pullbacks are stronger than they should be with the market the way it was selling off, but it was still drifting lower, but not any crazy power to the downside. But with bigger size, the shares in this, the P&L does add up quickly. So this was also a pretty good one, but it did hurt a little bit in the morning. And then what else? Oh, VIPs. I wanted to go over VIPs with you guys. So the Chinese ETF week with trade wars potential between the US and China on the horizon. I guess everybody's selling these Chinese stocks, but VIPs I got in, and what I want to talk about is when I got in, I didn't have a clear stop in mind. So I got in here thinking this is a pop in a trend down, so it's just another, retracement, and it's only a matter of time till it makes lower lows again. And I kind of had this as a stop in mind, but I wasn't very clear about it, and so I had a pretty decent position. I mean, this thing trades a lot of volume, low price, right? So, this is one of those things where I can actually put some size on. But so two things happened. One was I made an error of not having a clear-cut exit in mind when in case it would go against me. And then right at that time, basically, the news was that Trump was saying something along the lines of $50 billion tariff fine on China, and the market took it well. I think the spiders rallied at that point, and also these Chinese names rallied, and basically I was caught off guard, and I let this thing go against me a lot more than I should have. And yeah, let's see, you can see that it pulls back, and I hesitated to take it off, and it's a pretty big position, so I'm thinking, all right, maybe it'll come back, and the bigger the position, the less likely we are to take it off, right? And the more it goes against us, then we try to give it more space. This is Mike Katz trading from 20 years ago. So I still make these errors from time to time, and I just try to minimize the amount of damage that it does. But this wasn't a fun one. I wanted to mention it because I let this thing come back, and whenever I get emotional about a trade, and now I'm not respecting my stops, or I don't have any stops in mind, I'm going to end up closing this out emotionally. So I ended up thinking, all right, maybe the bottom, it tops out here at 40, and it didn't. I put on some more size, another cardinal sin here, add to a loser, and just amateur trading here, where I put some more size on here, and this thing just keeps going up, and then I said, you know what, if it gets above 60, I'll have to take it off. So I ended up taking half off, right, a little bit less than half, not a whole lot, in this area. Once it peaked above 60, and then came back in this area between 50 and 60, I took about half off. Obviously that's going to be the top, right? Top tick, emotional trade, no rules. And so luckily I only took half off, and I said, all right, just relax, other things are starting to work, and let's see if we can figure out a way. Do I want to be in this trade at all, or is this just an abort and move on, and I'll take it as a lesson? So I said, what, let's see how he behaves. I already took half off. If it ends up coming back up, then I'll take the other half off. Otherwise, I'll watch it. And I ended up trading around here a little bit, and it never went back above that 60. And I ended up putting on some more back on here after I kind of started thinking a little bit clearer, and started watching a little bit closer. And the market helped a lot with the spiders dumping, and the Chinese president coming out and saying they're going to retaliate, and all the sector as a whole started going lower. So this thing ended up coming in, and it ended up being a loser, but not as bad as it was, and not as bad as it could have been had I covered everything in the emotional cover here. So nobody's immune to this. I think on my trader view, I have a tag that I tag a trade where it's called error no stop, meaning that I don't have a stop in mind when I enter. So I try to tag those trades and see, and then the strength in that is that whenever it happens, it hurts, but I try to learn from it. And then when I tag it, I kind of I'm journaling it, and next time it happens and I get into a trade and I'm not sure about where I want the stop to be, then all of a sudden these red flags go off, and in the back of my head I'm trying to remember the last time I did that and what happened. So that's just what it is. You just got to learn from these mistakes, and I had one here today, but overall it was a good day. The market had some nice follow through to the downside. The spiders were weak, closed weak. UVXY to the upside, closing strong, and a lot of the names like basically most of the names that you'll pull up are going to be weak, like Netflix, finally Citron being right again, down close to 600. So we'll see which way things go. It's good that action is back, and just the key is to stay small, nothing too crazy, and then just take a trade at a time. And as traders, this is what we hope for: volatility, and this is it. So, for everyone that complains about no volatility for years and no action, well, here we go. This is it, and let's try to capitalize. So let's stay smart, stay safe out there, and good luck to everyone. Thank you guys for watching. Mike Katz, 7 Points Capital, with today's Trader Takeaways.